Hello students, today we are going to start with the new topic that is nothing but your units and dimension. So in this topic we are just going to cover what is the need of your measurement. Before that we will study in short what is the use of your science or why there is a need to study the science, then the need of measurements, units, the physical quantities, then what are the different system of units that we are using, then what is that order of magnitude, then the dimensions of a physical quantity, then use of that dimensional analysis, significant figures, errors, so those occurs in the measurements, then vernier calipers, screw gauges, and along with that the past year numericals. So if we just consider that, so let's say when we are just saying that it's about science, or it might be, so let's say in science we are saying that it's chemistry, biology, let's say physics. So why we should study that physics, or what we are doing exactly in the physics? So if we say that in physics we are just observing the various phenomenon which are occurring around us. So let's say for example on one day the Newton was sitting under that tree and the apple falls in the downward direction. Although this is a kind of story, but definitely that apple is going to fall in the downward direction. So then definitely there has to be some force, and that force which is going to pull that object in the downward direction. So that force is nothing but a kind of physical quantity. So we are just going to derive the relation between like various physical quantities, so which will governs, or which will just, you can say that, so which will form some laws, and we have to study those laws. So we are going to just define those laws, and we will just say that so these laws are valid. So in physics we are going to study all these kinds of laws, so where we can say that so we are just defining the various phenomenon in terms of some laws. And to define those laws, again I am saying that I need some physical quantity. So those physical quantity you have to measure also. So when you are measuring, so you need some instruments, so those instruments also we have to study over here. So this is how all the things are linked to each other in this your units and measurements. So when we just talk about physics, so broadly that physics is classified into various branches also. Let's say mechanics, so where we are just saying that the object is in motion, so you have to study when it is in motion, then what it might be velocity, acceleration, what is the distance traveled by that object, so that is nothing but your mechanics. Then when we talk about the optics, in optics that is all we have to study related to the light, the various phenomenons which are related to the light, how the light travels through the different mediums. So the thermodynamics, what will happen when you just provide some heat to that object, then electrodynamics, so that is nothing but related to the electrical current, you can say that magnetic field, electric field. So all that we are going to study in this electrodynamics. So broadly I am just classifying this physics into these various branches over here. So we have divided the physics in various your branches. Now we have to study what are the fundamental forces which are exist in nature. The first one I told you about that Newton's that story, yeah. So that is nothing but, you can say, a kind of gravitational force. So whenever you throw the object upward, we know that it is going to move in the downward direction. So what kind of force is there? So that force we are going to call it as a gravitational force. So that is nothing but the fundamental force which exists in nature. The another kind of force, or the second one, we will say about the electrostatic force. So that electrostatic force is exist between the various charges. So let's say about the positive charge and negative charge. So there is a force of attraction between them, or if we just consider that if it is positive, we know that there is a force of repulsion. So this is about your electrostatic force. So this one you can also do with the help of that your experiments, taking a glass rod and rubbing that with the silk. You will find that it is going to, that glass rod is going to attract the pieces of your paper. So that was nothing but your electrostatic force. Then if we talk about the nuclear force, then the nuclear force is the strongest force which exists in the nature. So let's say, for example, if you know the structure of atom, in atom at the center there is a nucleus. So this nucleus consists of large number of protons based on its atomic number, and around which the electrons are revolving. So there are large number of protons in this small space. So obviously all the protons are having positive charge, so they are just trying to repel each other. So the force which I need to bound them together has to be greater as compared to your electrostatic force. So that's why the value of nuclear force has to be greater than that of your electrostatic force. So this nuclear force, again, it might be divided into strong nuclear force or it might be weak nuclear force, like that. So but fundamentally we can say that the gravitational force, electrostatic force and the nuclear force which are exist, out of that the nuclear force is the strongest one. So that also we have just seen. So that is, it is the strongest amongst the three. So based on that, so then next, if I say that, then why there is a need of measurements? So I just told you that. So when we just defined few laws, so let's say for that your force, mass and acceleration, so we have defined the relation between those various physical quantities. So obviously now I have to measure those physical quantities. So definitely there is a need of measurements. So let's say I just say that that is a hand span, then that is a cubit, or you can say stride, a foot. So all these things I need to measures. Yeah, so just let's say I'm sitting in this room, so definitely there has some been dimensions for this room. Yeah, so there is some need of measurements. So while doing, let's say for your construction, so we can do that measurement over here either with the help of some standard instruments. So let's say that is a ruler, or you can say that a measuring tape. Yeah, so we can just derive the relations. Yeah, so we can just quantities. So at the same time we need to measure those your physical quantities.